Hello, everyone. Welcome to Celsius 233, your go-to place for fiction book summaries. Today, we will unravel the story Within the Virgin and the Gypsy by D.H. Lawrence. The Virgin and the Gypsy is a novella written by D.H. Lawrence, first published posthumously in 1930. The story revolves around two young women, Yvette and Lucille, daughters of a clergyman, who live in a small, stifling village in England. They encounter a gypsy man who fascinates Yvette, stirring her desires and leading her to question the constrained world she inhabits. The novella explores themes of repression, desire, and societal norms, set against the backdrop of post-World War I England. Plot summary. Yvette and Lucille Saywell, two young sisters, return to their father's rectory after finishing their education abroad. The house is steeped in an atmosphere of emotional repression, overshadowed by the scandal of their mother, Cynthia, who had left their father for another man years ago. This act of betrayal casts a long shadow over the household, leaving the rector, Arthur Saywell, mourning the memory of his wife while hypocritically upholding a strict moral code. He is a man lost in his self-righteousness, unaware of the suffocating impact his rigid ways have on his daughters. The girls are trapped in this oppressive environment, under the ever-watchful eyes of Granny, the real matriarch of the house, and Aunt Sissy, who seethes with bitterness and resentment. Yvette, the younger sister, is the more restless of the two. Her spirit yearns for freedom and something beyond the narrow confines of their dull life in Papelwick. She detests the staleness of their home, where the constant presence of Granny, self-important and overbearing, looms like a heavy weight. The old woman rules the household, her every whim indulged by the rector and Aunt Sissy, who both defer to her. Aunt Sissy, in turn, takes out her frustrations on the girls, especially Yvette, whose youthful beauty and vitality only serve to deepen Sissy's jealous rage. Lucille, the elder, is more practical and resigned to their situation. She busies herself with her job in the city, becoming the family's responsible one. Yet, even she feels the dull ache of their sterile life, though she does her best to suppress it. Yvette, however, rebels against the stifling moral atmosphere. She finds the routines of the church, the community events, and the hollow social gatherings unbearable. Her relationship with her father is strained. She feels his coldness, his failure to truly see her for who she is. He is consumed by a false piety and the memory of his wife, who remains, in his mind, an idealized figure, untouched by her betrayal. One day, during an excursion with friends, Yvette encounters a group of gypsies camped by the roadside. Among them is a tall, handsome man who exudes an effortless sense of freedom. His dark eyes and insolent confidence stir something deep within Yvette, something primal and forbidden. The gypsy represents a world so different from her own, a world unshackled by the rigid rules and moral codes she has been forced to live by. The attraction is immediate, though unspoken. In him, Yvette sees the possibility of escape, of a life lived without shame, and the stirrings of her own desires are awakened for the first time. As time passes, Yvette finds herself drawn repeatedly to the thought of the gypsy. She feels trapped in her home, where she is constantly judged, either by the calculating eyes of Granny or the bitter sneers of Aunt Sissy. Her father, too absorbed in his own self-pity, fails to notice her growing discontent. Yvette begins to rebel in small ways, distancing herself from the social expectations of her community. She skips Sunday school, avoids church duties, and defies Aunt Sissy's attempts to control her behavior. The tension in the house builds, with Yvette's fiery temper often flaring up against Aunt Sissy's constant nagging. One evening, at a family gathering, Yvette steals away to visit the gypsies again. This time, she and the gypsy man exchange glances, and though no words are spoken, a connection is made. Yvette's fascination with him deepens, and she feels herself teetering on the edge of something dangerous, yet thrilling. The gypsy's dark, inscrutable presence haunts her thoughts, filling her with a sense of both fear and desire. She knows that to pursue him would be to defy everything her family stands for, yet she cannot resist the pull of the unknown. Back at the rectory, Yvette's restlessness grows. The suffocating life she leads there becomes more unbearable with each passing day. Aunt Sissy's spiteful outbursts, fueled by her envy of Yvette's youth and beauty, escalate, culminating in a confrontation where Yvette is accused of selfishness and irresponsibility for borrowing money from the church's window fund. The incident leaves Yvette humiliated and ashamed, though inwardly, she knows that her true crime in Aunt Sissy's eyes is her vitality, her very existence as a young, desirable woman. The turning point comes when a great flood strikes the village. The Papal River, swollen from days of rain, bursts its banks, and the rectory is threatened by the rising waters. Amid the chaos, the tension between Yvette's inner desires and the suffocating constraints of her family life reaches its peak. In a moment of crisis, the gypsy reappears. He offers Yvette a lifeline, a chance to escape the floodwaters and the metaphorical flood of repression that has drowned her spirit for so long. In the midst of the flood, Yvette is faced with a choice: to remain loyal to her family and the stifling world they represent, or to embrace the wild, untamed life the gypsy embodies. The gypsy rescues her from the rising waters, and in that moment of physical and emotional rescue, Yvette feels a profound connection to him, one that transcends the boundaries of her past life. The flood becomes a symbol of purification, washing away the old constraints and leaving her with the possibility of a new beginning. As the floodwaters recede, Yvette stands on the brink of a new life, her soul awakened to the possibilities that lie beyond the narrow confines of her upbringing. The future is uncertain, but she has glimpsed a world of freedom, and she knows that her life will never be the same again. If you loved this, don't stop here. Check out other books by D.H. Lawrence. You'll find them below or on Celsius 233. Remember, while our summaries capture the essence, they can never replace the full experience of reading the book. If this summary intrigued you, consider diving into the complete story, buy the book, and immerse yourself in D.H. Lawrence's original work. Bye-bye, take care, have fun.